Kia ora, good evening. Rain over the weekend has brought some relief to the south. An average of 14 millimetres of rain fell across the region yesterday, raising river levels but having little effect on soil moisture levels. Environment South and Resource Management Director Warren Taki says the rain was enough to temporarily revoke cut-offs on 8 consents to take water. 25 water takes and 2 discharge takes are still suspended, although more may be lifted as rain washes downstream. Mr Taki says the relief may only be short-lived, with the rain buying the region about a week. Invercargill City Council has outlined its 8 key projects in the coming year. In its draft annual plan to be tabled tomorrow, Council has outlined 8 key projects for the 2013 to 14 year, which have a price tag of around $3 million. Among those projects, Council intends to market for sale or lease its more than 600 hectares of industrial land at Awarua, and $100,000 has been earmarked for redevelopment of the Bluff foreshore. $1.4 million has been budgeted for the Centre City Revitalisation Project. Other projects are cycling, walking and Ariti Beach, the District Plan Review, population growth, South Museum and Art Gallery and urban rejuvenation. The role of the Anzacs in World War II was an important one, and according to author Calvin Crombie, one that was particularly important in the Middle East. He's currently in the South on a book tour promoting his 10th book, El Alamein, Halting an Impending Holocaust in the Middle East. Sarah Bedford spoke to him about his book and whether he thinks New Zealanders are aware of the role the country played.
What I do know is that New Zealanders, like Australians, are unaware of the fact that had we lost it to Brooke in 1941, El Alamein in 1942, then the German-led army would have gone into Egypt and crossed the Suez Canal into Palestine, and they would have annihilated, murdered up to 600,000 Jewish people. And so this is the story, it's the flip side of the coin. You know about your heroes like Charles Upham, who won 2 Victoria Crosses, you know about General Freyberg, but very few on either side of the ditch really understand the other side, which is the fact that we helped to save up to 600,000 or more Jewish people from the Holocaust.
Now, for you yourself, how did you actually come to learn of this and putting together a book on it?
Well, when I grew up in the outback of Western Australia, I developed an interest in Australia's military role in the Middle East, which means Anzac military role in the Middle East, and I went to live in Israel as a young fella in 1979. I was a 21-year-old, and I ended up by living there for about 25 years. And as a result of that, I began to be very, very interested in the role of the Anzac soldiers in the Middle East and went out to many of the military battlegrounds and so on and so forth. Had a lot of contact with Jewish people, those who had survived the Holocaust, but met many people who had lived in those regions during the war, and they all had exactly the same sentiment, that had Rommel's forces broken through at El Alamein and crossed over the Suez Canal, then they would have been annihilated. And so I began to put 2 and 2 together and realise our soldiers were very, very much involved in that victory at El Alamein. And in about 1988, I think it was, I happened to be involved in the discovery of a very special little Bible that was given by the Jewish leadership of Palestine of the time to Field Marshal Montgomery, the commander of the forces under whom we served. And that Bible was a gift of appreciation from the Jewish leadership to Montgomery for actually having saved them during and after the period of El Alamein in 1942.
Competition was red hot on the green at the Waihopai Bowling Club in Invercargill today. 35 students competed today in the Regional Secondary Schools Tournament for Zone 6, which covers the bottom of the South Island from South Canterbury down. Around 18 schools were represented at the event, which Bowls Southland Centre Manager Karen Ralston says is highly competitive. She says the sport is growing in popularity. Students competed in singles and pairs, with the top places qualifying for the national competition. The event is hosted in Invercargill around every 5 years. Some of Southland's younger generation showed their commitment to the environment, planting a variety of trees and native plants next to the Waihopai stream. That group, made up of around 40 Windsor and Glenrose pippins, Brownies and Guides, has adopted a stretch of the Waihopai stream as part of Environment Southland's Living Streams program. Organiser Jane King says the girls learned about plants, weeds, planting and streams, and there were a range of group activities. A unique Living Stream badge has been developed for participants to earn, and the group plans to visit the area twice a year for maintenance and planting. Stay with us, still to come, a 20-year celebration of country music in Gore. The Gore Town and Country Club was full of toe-tapping entertainment over the weekend during the 20th Hokanui Country Music Festival. Almost 40 acts from around New Zealand and overseas took to the stage at an event that was originally set up to showcase upcoming local talent. Around 400 people attended the two-day Hokanui Country Music Festival in Gore, which showcased performers from 3 local clubs and international guest artists. Fundraising, organising and selecting acts for the annual event, which celebrated its 20th anniversary at the weekend, takes most of the year. Clutha Country Music member Alison Ward says festivals like this are a great stepping stone for local talent.
A lot of them are just a name on their own anyway, and they're out there now. Some of them have been gold guitar winners, and they've gone on to better things. And a lot of the younger ones have got their start here and moved on through and going up to the gold guitars.
To mark the 20th anniversary, Mrs Ward says it was important to invite popular artists from years gone by.
We'd brought back several guests that have been over the years, and 1 or 2 new ones, and especially the young ones, because that is our idea, to introduce the young ones to this, to give them a chance.
She says creating an event where young performers can take to the stage in front of an audience was the purpose behind the event originally.
That was what it was aimed for in the start, but we do include a lot of the older ones as well, so that we've got a bit of a balance there.
Almost 40 New Zealand and international artists took to the stage over the weekend, among them guest performer Wayne Horsburgh, who began singing aged 8 and credits this type of event with developing his skills.
I'm from a little country village in country Victoria, and I used to sing at local talent quests and that around the area and local dances, so it was all very much the farming district and the hospitality, just like here.
The Sydney-based artist says providing an avenue for entertainers to perform is important and says it's an opportunity for everyone to learn.
This is my 3rd time for the Hokanui Country Music Festival. I've been here a couple of times for the Gold Guitar Awards too, so actually 5 times here to Gore. But and it's fantastic and heard a lot of great talent even in the last couple of days since I've been here. A lot of young singers coming through the ranks, and it's just so important that we give them a chance to perform in front of the crowd.
With some much needed rain falling, this year's event lived up to its name, the Drought Breaker. Organisers are now set to start preparations for next year. Margot Sutherland, South Today News. A shortage of volunteers to support the South's youth population has been an ongoing problem for Youthline Southland, but it's hoped the appointment of a new youth development worker will help tackle the issue. Gemma Ball recently started with the agency, providing help for young people and their families. Her role includes vetting calls from youth throughout the country, and she says there are common themes that youth seek support for.
Suicide and that sort of stuff, as well as that real emotional support is what young people really reaching out for, is what I've noticed in the years of kind of being a youth working in that sector, and now is that there's more opportunity for them to reach out and get that emotional support around friends and family and just kind of whatever is on top for them, and they're actually really keen on getting that support now because it's out there.
So they can put a call through to Youthline and you offer that one-on-one speaking with them, and what other options do they have?
Yeah, so they have one-on-one speaking to a phone counsellor, and we also have a text line, and they can also email in for support between the hours of 8 a.m. and 12 midnight.
If somebody's interested in coming on board as a volunteer, what's involved there?
So they need to get in touch with Youthline, and we go through kind of a recruitment and training process for that, and there's different stages for that. You go through text counselling training and phone counselling training and all that kind of stuff before we have you working as a solo counsellor.
So in an ideal situation, how many would be working from the Southland office here?
It'd be really, really great to get lots of people working from here. We often have shortages on the phone line all throughout the country, and so it'd be really great to have a really strong Southland base of volunteers coming in and out all the time.
How is the volunteer base at the moment?
At the moment we don't have any volunteers on because this role is new, and we're looking forward to getting some volunteers on. It's just sort of been a rolling process. We've got some people interested in coming on and volunteering, so hopefully we'll get that up and going in the next couple of months.
How long have you been working with youth for?
I've been working with youth for just over a year, but prior to that, when I was in my youth, I did some work around youth agencies and that sort of thing, so I've kind of come back to being involved with young people.
So you've been involved with the number 10 previously?
Yeah, and involved with number 10. I'm the social worker there and do assessments of youth into our service over there for counselling and mentoring support.
A cultural feast was on offer in Invercargill at the weekend. Hundreds of Southlanders were at the 4th annual Multicultural Food Festival, organised by Southland Multicultural Council. Turnout for the event equalled last year's biggest to date, with around 2,500 people through the doors at James Hargest College. The event gave people the chance to get a taste of different cultures and try the ethnic fare at 15 food stalls. Southland Multicultural Council coordinator Violet Stewart says the event is held to celebrate cultural diversity in the community. Dozens of young athletes were put through their paces competing in a kids' triathlon in Invercargill yesterday. More than 300 children aged 8 to 14 took part in the AMP triathlon, which featured a 100 or a 200 metre swim, 4 or 8 kilometre bike and a 1.5 kilometre run. The event has been running for a decade. Race director Glenn McClay says the event is organised by Southland Tri and Multisport Club to promote the sport and give children a chance to try something new. He says the focus is on participation and enjoyment rather than winning. Coming up in sport, a wrap of the weekend's Super 15 rugby. That's along after the weather next. Good night.